Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak, and we are coming towards the end of The Mandalorian this season. We have one episode left, one tiny episode left. And I'm going to do this sort of like Bert Kreischer does with his open tab show. I'm going to kind of tell you about the tabs that I have open on my Google. So this episode is called Spies. They're doing this cumulatively as they're counting them off. This is supposed to be chapter 23, season 3, episode 7, for those keeping track at home. So, anyway, the episode is titled Spies. And right away, we're given in the first scene the look at Elia Kane, played by Katie O'Brien. She is obviously working for Moff Gideon, and you get to see Moff Gideon for the first time as he's speaking to her through some type of droid. There's obviously her behind the scenes, but the episode is called Spies, plural. It's got an S at the end. So it makes you wonder who is the other spy? Now, there's been a lot of speculation, especially amongst the online community, that it's going to be the armorer. People have been suspicious of the armorer ever since they first saw her and saw the horns that were on her helmet. For those people who watched Rebels or the Clone Wars, the last season, there is an interaction with Darth Maul overtaking the Mandalorians and basically winning the dark saber through combat, um, killing the guy who was holding it at the time. He then garners the respect and the following of the Mandalorians who were there at the time, and they sort of nicknamed themselves the Mauldorians. Mauldorians, get it? But they had helmets that had the horns fixed on them, Sparrow being one of the big ones. But, there's been a speculation of, okay, well, is this armorer a follower of Maul the whole time? Is the cloning that Moff Gideon is supposedly doing cloning another version of Maul somehow? I don't know. There is that question mark. We're not sure. Now, we saw in an episode where Bo Katan came and saved Din Djarin from being captured by that weird mechanical creature that sort of looked like a crab inside of a shell that had one exoskeleton, only to be jumping out of the second exoskeleton to jump back in the first one. Um, there's been a comparison of the eyeball that is um, inside of the mechanism of that shell, saying that the eyeball looks identical to Darth Maul. Now, this could play into that storyline of the fact that maybe Moff Gideon wanted to use Pershing's genetic studies in cloning to. Remember in the first season, he wanted to try to capture Grogu. So maybe that cloning technology has been transformed into him trying to clone Darth Maul this entire time. I mean, we may see a reemergence of Maul. I know this sounds crazy. I haven't seen this anywhere. I'm just throwing this out there as my idea. Again, this gets away from the spies part, but this sort of plays into the idea of all of this is leaning towards something. In this episode, though, we are seeing that Maul is actually inhabiting the planet of Mandalore. He's got a secret base built there, and he's been working on some troopers himself. Basically, he has Mandalorians that are now wearing a special Clone War version of the Beskar steel, and they're working for him. Obviously, because they see him as the true leader, since he bested someone in battle and took the dark saber. Now, it doesn't come out till later in the show that you hear that he actually acquired the dark saber not through force, but just through coercion of trying to tell Bo-Katan that he would stop the bombing if she surrendered the dark saber. So it's our surrendering of the saber that it basically allowed that to happen. Now, the big question mark is, what? Seriously? Like, her surrendering the saber was enough for them to go, "Oh, you will follow you," unless he somehow like dispatched her and then showed up with the saber and then told them that he bested her in combat, because that's the only thing that they're really going to believe in anyway. I mean, their whole thing is combat. Like, I'm going to combat you, kind of a Spartan idea. The only the strongest should lead sort of idea. And up to now, we've seen Bo Katan kick butt. I mean, she's been kicking everybody's butt. She's wielded the dark saber. She saved Din Djarin twice in the episode where he goes to Mandalore and gets captured, and then he falls down into the chasm, and she has to dive in and save his life again. It's become a thing of she's always saving his life. Well, he's indebted to her. And in this episode, he has a moment where he calls her, my lady, I will serve you. Um, Basically recognizing the fact that she's the one that should be in charge, and she should be in charge of her people. Um, I don't know if she's going to be the one to reunite the Mandalorians. I don't even know if that's going to work. I honestly think that all of this is leading towards the extermination of the Mandalorians. Now, in future movies, you don't see Mandalorians. Okay. You don't see them. So at some point here, they're all going to be exterminated, or they go into hiding and we don't see them so that they can resurge later. And with that idea, you have to go, okay, well, if that's going to be the case, then it has to be Grogu that leads all of this because he's the one that can live to be 900 plus years old. The other ones are going to die at normal human years, essentially assuming that we are human in this storyline. So here's the idea. Is the armor the other spy? Or is it someone else? Could it possibly be Wolf? Could it be the other chick that's the night owl that was following her that she says stuff about well, we're for hire for the best money. I don't know, but here's a thought because I've heard people say they think that Din Djarin is captured now and that he's possibly going to die in the next episode, and that's going to be the big tearjerker moment. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that Bo-Katan and Grogu and all the other Mandalorians are going to rally to try to save Din Djarin, and in the process, I think Bo-Katan is going to be killed. This is just my prediction for the final episode. I think that she's going to be basically sacrificed in trying to save Din Djarin and trying to save her people. Um, I've heard it's going to be a tearjerker moment, so it's going to be somebody we care about that ends up perishing in the process. I don't think it's going to be Grogu. They're selling way too much merch for it to be him. Um, I really don't think it's going to be Din Djarin. I mean, they could kill him off just to move the story forward and go to season 3, but then you're kind of missing out on this started with him and the kid, and you can't have either one of them in season 3 and people still watch because have you garnered enough care about Bo-Katan with viewership? I don't know. I don't think so. I think you have to have those two in season 3. Now, season 3 is going to be the final one, or season 4, whatever it is, the next season. Um, the next one's going to be the final season. They've already announced that because the story's going to play out. But it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens here. What other characters are going to come into play? Dave Filoni is really good about not wasting any characters. So basically, if you see a character on screen that speaks, that character will come back later in some regard. We're going to see everybody back. We're going to see at some point Bill Burr is going to come back. We're going to see Jack Black again. We're going to see Lizzo. We're going to see all of these people again at some point, and it's going to come to a head, or it's going to grow into something more that's going to morph into other shows. Ahsoka is coming out later this year. We know that the Rebels cast has been slowly introduced here and there. We've seen a live action glimpse of Hera and Chopper and now Zeb. And there's also going to be Hera's son, Hera and Kanan's son, um, Jason Syndulla. So we're going to see him, and it's going to be curious to see what sort of question mark character that's going to be. So anyway, there's lots of things that are coming up, and I'm just tickled that all of this is in Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's hands because they're doing a great job. The show is fantastic. My wife made a comment though that they're losing their younger audience with the storyline, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I noticed on Disney, if you scroll across Disney Plus, they have like a Disney Junior version of Young Jedi's where it shows like Yoda talking to these young Jedi's and they're going off and they're doing their thing as kids. And they've even shown like a little sneak preview of the Skeleton Crew, which is going to be another show that's all kid focused. It's got Jude Law and a whole bunch of kids, and they're supposed to be in the Outer Rim. So I mean, there's younger shows that are catering to younger kids, but I think that the Mandalorian and Boba Fett and Ahsoka is meant for your older audience. The story is more complex, the story is deeper. There's more character recognition that's involved that you sort of have to have. I know that kids are drawn in because baby Grogu looks so cute. Oh my God, he's so cute. And everybody wanted a little plush toy. Yeah, that's fine. That's not the story. Okay. It did draw you in. That's fine. Watch more. There's really good stuff, but it's not for you. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Now, if you want a show to be for you, go back and watch Rebels. Go back and watch the Clone Wars. Watch Resistance. Watch all of the other little cartoon things that are out because it's even though it's cartoon, it's kid focused, but also adult focused. They knew what they were doing when they made this. They were like, we have a lot of content we want to fill you in on. Some of this is going to be cute for the kids, but there's going to be a lot of serious content in here too, because there are several episodes that me, as a grown man watching, felt like crying over because it was very emotional. They wrote it really well. They wrote the cast really well. They actually developed characters that you care about. Um, Clone Wars, you could miss most of it, but you're gonna miss some really good stuff with the Mandalorians and the lore, and the stuff with Darth Maul is really interesting. The back and forth with Ventress and Dooku is very interesting. I don't know if they're ever going to do anything with General Grievous where they're going to show you more background information, but it would be kind of cool if they did. I don't know that they need a whole series for it. Maybe a little short. But you get to see all of that stuff. And if someone were starting off today and they went, "Where do I start?" I have no idea to what to tell you. There's nowhere to tell you to start. You start wherever you want. If you see something that catches your eye and go, "Oh, that looks interesting," watch it. That's all I can say. Just if you're interested, you'll watch it. If you're not and you just halfway care, then watch the YouTube videos where people break stuff down. Emergency Awesome's really good at that. Charlie does a great job of breaking down every episode and giving you all the information of why you should care about anything. And he does it really good on YouTube. So he shows you all the actual images of this person and this person does this and they do that. And then he talks so fast, it's hard to keep up with him if you don't know any of the information. My wife goes, I don't know how anybody catches all that. And I'm like, I heard every word. He's he is talking to me at my pace. There's a few things that I have to slow down and go, wait, what was that? And I have to back it up because he'll mention something that I have forgotten and I have to go back and review it. But he does a great job on YouTube. Check him out. Emergency Awesome. His name is Charlie. Does a great job. Um, but yeah, if you're interested in any of this stuff, go down the rabbit hole that you want to go down. And if you don't, then back away. It's fine. There's other stuff to watch. There's other stuff to entertain you. There's always options. Okay. Nobody's twisting your arm. Nobody's making you. It's all for fun. Okay. It's all a huge distraction. All right. If your distraction makes you happy, then do it. That's all I got to say. If your distraction makes you happy, do it. I've had this weird thing in the last couple of weeks where I've deep dived into the idea of happiness and what it means. Um, I come from a very hardworking family base that doesn't really talk about happiness as much as work and pride in work. Um, but not necessarily pointing out the pride in work, just doing the work and having other people praise you for your work. It's a very head down, dirt on your fingernails kind of idea, but it's the basis of my family. And it's interesting watching them grow up how little they talked about happiness. Or if the term happiness was used, it was tertiary for other people so that they knew that you were okay mentally and physically. But it wasn't necessarily a declaration or a lifestyle. I've talked about it before. I feel very uncomfortable dancing because to me, it's foolish. Um, there's nothing that's a part of that I enjoy. Uh, if I'm ever dancing, it's because I'm making myself and I feel very uncomfortable when I'm doing it and it feels forced and I don't enjoy any part of it. At times. I've had a few times where I've danced and I've really enjoyed it. I would say that every time I've danced with my wife, I've really enjoyed it. I don't know. Maybe it's something about, I don't know. Maybe it's something about celebrating with her, and it just makes me feel happy. I don't know. Makes me feel happy. So, yeah, I don't know. But happiness, what is happiness? Is it the pursuit of a thing? Is it the achievement of a thing? Is it the joy in watching other people have happiness? For me, that's a big part. I love seeing other people happy. I love it when my grandson is happy. I love making him laugh. I love making other people laugh. I get more joy from seeing their laughter than I do from my own. Um, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I got to spend the day with my grandson yesterday, and we went down to feed the ducks. And there's a little pond nearby that we walk around, and the ducks came out, and my wife goes, "Hey, let's get some stuff and feed it to them because I bet Jackson would really enjoy that." And I was like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." So we got out there and we got to feed the ducks, and he had a great time feeding the ducks. And there was little turtles that were in the water. They came up and they ate some bread too, and it was really adorable. Um, him being happy all day made my day, made me happy. Whenever we go to Disney and my wife sees Mickey for the first time and she suddenly loses all her age in her mind and her body, and she is just elated and claps her hands and jumps up and down and goes, "It's Mickey! It's Mickey!" And as an adult, you go, "It's a person in a suit." But as someone who loves her, I go, "It is Mickey." And I'm glad you're happy to see Mickey. That makes me ecstatic. Um, it's the thing that makes me go back all the time. And we're getting ready for a trip. We're going to go back and see Mickey. And I get to watch the time machine work and my wife turn into a little girl again. And I look forward to that. Um, yeah. So for me, I guess my happiness is watching the characters that I've grown up watching as a kid develop and turn and explore a new world and a new storyline. And it makes me nervous, I'll be honest, because the stories that were given to me were good. They were really good. And you worry that someone's going to take the thing that you like and ruin it. And I'm sure that a lot of Star Wars fans are very polarized in their ideas of what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing. Um, there's a lot of people who really like it. There's a lot of people who hate it. There's a lot of people who are like, "Oh my God, ever since they Disney bought them, it's never been the same." Some people are like, "Oh my God, ever since Disney bought them, it's been the best ever." There's a little bit of all of that in all of us with anything that we like, anything that we hold precious, right? We like to think of it in a special way. And when it changes or it grows or it morphs, we feel different about it. Well, here's the lesson in that there is no forever puppy. Okay. You can't have a little thing stay little forever. They grow up. This is just like Anne Rice's story, the interview with the vampire. They wanted a daughter, so they turned a little girl into a vampire, and then she turned up being very bitter several hundred years later when she realized she couldn't grow up. Um, I mean, that's a reality. You don't want to be thought of as a child forever. You do want to grow up. You do want to experience life as a grown up. There's a certain joy in that. There's a certain element of this is the way things are supposed to be. And when it doesn't work out the way it's supposed to be, it's not right. It's not healthy. Um, so your favorite things are going to change. Your favorite band doesn't play the same music all the time. And if they did, you probably don't like them anymore. Okay. They have to learn to find new things that they're into and to think about that to create new music. Sometimes they break apart and start new bands to find people they jam with and find new stuff to sing about. That's okay. Listen, all of this, every single element of it is just entertainment, and we're meant to enjoy it. And if we don't enjoy it, do something else. Okay? You have options. So, yeah. All right. Enough about The Mandalorian. I will talk about the next episode at length when it comes out because I'm sure there's going to be a huge hammer dropped, um, pun intended, armor on the situation because, hey, who knows? The armor may not be the bad guy after all. It may turn out that the armor is actually um, related to Bo-Katan. I'm just I'm just gonna say she might be related. For the huge Star Wars nerds out there, you're like, yep, could be. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about something else that I watched that I really love that I want you guys to watch because I think everybody would love it. The Marvelous Miss Maisel. It's on Amazon. It stars Rachel Bronson, um, basically as an unofficial story about Joan Rivers' life. She's loosely based on Joan Rivers. Here's the premise for the show. It's the late 1950s, and Miriam Midge Maisel has everything she ever wanted. The perfect husband, two kids, and an elegant apartment in New York's Upper West Side. Her seemingly idealistic life takes a surprising turn when she discovers a hidden talent she didn't previously know she had: stand up comedy. This revelation changes her life forever as she begins a journey that takes her from comfortable life up on the Upper West Side through the cafes and nightclubs of Greenwich Village as she makes her way through the city's comedy industry on a path that could ultimately lead her to the spot on the Tonight Show couch. The series was created by Amy Sherman Palladino from Gilmore Girls. Um, this show originally started off in 2017. Every single season has been fantastic. Um, there's a clickable link on Google. It says those Midge saw great success earlier in her stages of career. Then Joan Rivers, both Rivers and Joan performed at the Real Life Club, the Gaslight Cafe, located in New York's Greenwich Village. Um, it's a rough play on Joan Rivers' life, but the characters, every single actor in this is fantastic. Um, Alex Borstein is great as Susie, her manager, which is based on a real life manager of a similar name. Um, I clicked on it. Sue Rengers is basically who this character is based on. Fantastic, fantastic actor. Tony Shalhoub plays her dad as Abe Weissman. Uh, Marin Hinkle plays her mom as Rose. They are so funny together. Um, Playing her husband Joel's parents, Kevin Pollak and Carolyn Annan, Aaron, great. Everybody's great. Every single character in this is great. Even the Lenny Bruce character is really phenomenal. I mean, everybody in this is great. Um, they even do a thing with a singer, Shy Shy Baldwin, who's based on Tony Bennett. Um, Very interesting. Everything about this is interesting. So this is the final season of the Marvelous Miss Maisel. There's 5 seasons. This is the final one, and they're doing the season so far different. There's only like 3 episodes out right now, but every episode, I mean, think about this. You create a show that people like, okay? And you know that it's sort of a storytelling about this person who had these achievements. And at the end of your show, people are going to say, "Yeah, but what happened later? What was the thing like you fade the curtain, but what's after that? What happened? How do these kids grow up? How does she continue to grow? Does she do anything with her life? Does there anything else happen?" And what they've done so far is every single episode has about 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning of the episode that is supposed to be current times. And like the first episode started, and I thought, did I click the wrong thing? What is this? And it was this woman who looked kind of like her, who is frantically running around her therapist's office talking about equations and working for NASA and trying to solve this crisis and that crisis and then you realize at a certain point, because she mentions it, that her mom is Miss Maisel. And you're like, oh my God, this is her daughter. Okay, she's grown up. Why are we watching her as a grown up? What's happening? It takes a while to realize that she's in therapy and she's there to talk about her mother, but also she's trying to solve some crisis at work. And her brain is rapidly firing just as quick as as Miriam does, but for other things. And also, as they're achieving their own greatness in life, her children are also dealing with the fact that their mom is this megastar. And so there is an interesting part of the show where they are looking at first the daughter and then the son, um, trying to wrap their own personal life around the fact that their mom is such a public person. And there is an episode, I think the third one is where they're interviewing Miriam current day, and talking about, oh yeah, I had such a great past and I did this and I did that and here's the costume. They're paying homage to their own show as they're telling you the story. So then that's the first 5 to 10 minutes, and then the later part of it is, and here's what's going on now. Here's the story that you were following along and what's happening. And every one of them is done in a way that you are still, it's still great writing. The show is written so well. This is one of the best shows ever written. The comedy is quick. The characters are just textured so well. My hat's off to everybody involved with the Marvelous Miss Maisel, all of the writers, all of the costume designs, all of the lighting, all of the set designs. Everything about the show is phenomenal. Um, I did mention during the season where she was on tour with Shy that I didn't care for that season as much. I now see that it was necessary to tell the bigger story. Um, Much like your clothes are woven, in some way, sewn together. The show is sewn together in a way that you're meant to see that part to appreciate where it is now. And even as they're telling the story the way they're telling it in this final season, it is still one of the best things ever. So that's it. I want you guys to go watch The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Um, Michael Zegan, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You're phenomenal as Joel. Um, everybody is phenomenal as their characters. Um, Even small bit characters are phenomenal. I'm so blown away. I'm so blown away. It's great. It's great stuff. So that's it. Oh, one more thing. One more thing. You guys need to go check out a singer. His name is Cole Chaney. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Cole, Cole, Chaney, Chaney. And there's a song on YouTube called Grind. It is it is truly phenomenal. This guy has got a great voice. This is a great song. Um, I wish I could play it for you, but YouTube will flag me. So go check it out yourself. And on that note, I will wrap this up by telling you guys thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, share this with your friends. And as always, cue the cow.
Cue the cow. Moo, baby.